Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Ben Elton of the Great Synagogue in Sydney. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, it's great to be with you.
This is an Australian edition of the Torah talk. I'm speaking from Melbourne, and our parsha is Re'eh. In Re'eh, Moses presents to the people a choice, a blessing and a curse. The blessing that will come if they fulfill God's commandments, the curse if they abandon them. Both should be proclaimed on Har Grizim and Har Eval, the Mount of Grizim and Mount Eval, when the people enter the Holy Land. More in our parsha, Moses commands that a temple should be established in the place that God will choose. A false prophet should be put to death. An idolatrous city must be destroyed. The identifying signs for kosher animals and fish and the list of non-kosher birds, first given in the book of Leviticus, are repeated in this parsha. The mitzvah of charity obligates a Jew to aid a needy fellow with a gift or loan. On the sabbatical years, occurring every 7th year, all loans are to be forgiven. All servants are to be set free after 6 years of service. The first pasuk of the parsha says, Re'eh anochi noten lifnechem hayom bracha uklala. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. So, Rabbi, here's a question. Shabbat, we understand. We have to rest after 7 days of work. And Shemitah, to quit working the land on the 7th year, we also understand because the land might need a break from us. But Shmitat Ksafim, what is the concept of Shmitat Ksafim that I don't understand?
Well, the concept of forgiving loans every 7th year, I think also has the same roots as Shabbat and Shemitah in terms of resting from the land. Because there's more than one element to this idea of Shabbat, which comes every 7 days, every 7 years. On the one hand, there's the element of simple rest from our work, the land can rest from our labor and recover somewhat. But there's also a social justice aspect. The fact that we rest every 7 days means that also our servants rest. The fact that we rest from the land doesn't mean only that we don't till it, we don't work it, but also that it's open, that anyone can come into our land and can take of our produce, to indicate that the inequalities which normally exist over the course of an economic cycle, which are probably necessary for a good functioning economy and a market, that's not the be-all and end-all. There also has to be a moment when we recognize that all of these gifts are from God, and therefore we should open our land.
Right.
Shabbat, that's Shemitah. And Shemitah Ksafim, the idea of forgiving loans, the commandment to forgive loans, is along the same lines. That really, although one person may have more resources than another and have loaned out money to a poorer friend or neighbor, every 7 years that has to have the realization along with it that the money wasn't really ours to begin with, that the Almighty gave us that extra money to do good with, and our role was to lend out that money, and every 7 years we decide, the Torah decides that money will not come back to us, it will stay with the person who needs it, because that's what its purpose always was.
Right, but this raises many practical complications, right?
Of course, I mean, the major complication is that it becomes a disincentive to lend out money in the 5th or 6th years.
Or to give back money at any time, because all you have to do is wait until the 7th year comes.
That's right. It's an incentive, I suppose, to procrastinate, to put off repaying the loan, and that's why the commandment to forgive loans every 7th year is followed immediately by a warning that the Torah gives us not to use the Shemitah Ksafim as an excuse to be stingy, to be close-fisted towards our neighbors in the years leading up to Shemitah or Shemitah Ksafim. And we're told that we will be blessed if we are generous and open-handed to our neighbors, and if not, repeating the theme of the parish in general, that if we don't act with generosity, even with the risk above our heads that we may not get our money back, that we're going to be punished. And in terms of the borrower, it's also an obligation on the borrower to repay the money, except in the seventh year. This whole system is based on essentially a God-fearing society where people understand their obligations under the Torah. They enter into them, and they accept the requirements placed upon them. And what the Torah is setting out is a vision of a just society ruled under obedience to the rules of the Almighty and the Torah. And in that situation, those circumstances, such an arrangement works. Of course, if people don't have that commitment, then it becomes more complicated.
Did we have any evidence that it ever worked for our own society, for Jewish society?
Well, it seems to have worked for a period, because in the Talmudic period, Hillel instituted the prosbul. The prosbul was a mechanism whereby actually a loan wouldn't be cancelled at the end of the seventh year, because he found people were failing to be generous towards their neighbours in the fifth and sixth year, which implies this was a problem which occurred later in Jewish history. There was a time when the Jews first entered the land of Israel in the first temple period, maybe in the second temple period towards the beginning, where people were really living these commandments, where they were demonstrating this generosity and this reliability in the case of those who borrowed money. But later that broke down, as we know, in the second temple period, the period leading up to the destruction of the second temple. There was a falling away of commitment, of religious standards, religious obedience, and this seems to be part of that trend. So when Hillel saw that the whole purpose of the institution was to make giving loans and receiving loans easier, once he saw that had fallen away, he created a mechanism which allowed loans to be maintained over the seventh year for the benefit of society in general.
Right, and we have in our parsha something that some people might find morally problematic, because our parsha says that in the seventh year we have to give up on all loans, but this only concerns certain people, because the Torah also said, "Et anochri tigosh ve'et asher yeh lecha et achicha tashmet yadecha." From the foreigner you may exact, but what is yours with your brother, your hand shall release. So this matter only relates to loans you give to other people of your own tribe.
Or your own faith. This is a regulation which covers the relationship between Jews and other Jews. And I think that goes to the point that this is designed for a society of reciprocal obligation. That you have a whole community which are committed to mutual support, and therefore perhaps the normal rules, the normal arrangements of an economic system don't apply. So if you go to any country in the world, you don't find that they forgive all loans every seventh year.
Right.
The economy functions along normal human lines, which is people owe money and people seek their money back and they pay it back and so on and so forth. This is something which is out of the ordinary. This is something which is to govern a godly society and not a purely human society. And that godly society is an internal affair where each person feels obligated towards their neighbour. Now, of course, anybody can join such a society. From the earliest times, people joined the Jewish people and they became subject to their regulations, and they also became subject and they benefited from the bonuses of being part of such a society. But these extraordinary regulations, which appear to really be extraordinary in many ways and out of the ordinary, certainly, these can only apply to the running of a society where everyone is equally committed. And that's why I think it applies between Jew and Jew and not between Jew and non-Jew.
Rabbi, thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.